Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, it's Tuesday, so once again it's time for Lancing with myself, another video from Steve D of Tin Star Games about game design and how to do it when you are low on spoons and low on cash. Now 2 weeks ago I said the publisher is not your enemy, and that was a really good point. Most publishers, although there are plenty of sharks out there who are willing to steal your things and give you a bad deal because they know that you're hungry for publication, those aside, most publishers are not your enemy. They are looking to work with you to give you the best deal you can to get your work out there so that you both make money. And finding the right publishers and working with them is a really good idea. But the flip side to the publisher is not your enemy is the publisher is not your friend. And that comes with that warning that I just mentioned. If your publisher is not necessarily your friend, they are looking to make a good deal, you need to treat them like an employer or any other kind of relationship. They're not your best friend. They're not even your partner. They are an employer, which means you've got to go in there with position to negotiate. You've got to make sure that you're not getting a bad deal. You've got to make sure that you're getting something that's fair, something that's livable. And if you're giving the runaround, you've got to be ready to get out. I've had publishers make promises and then disappear. It happens. The industry is like that. I've had publishers ask for changes, and when I made the changes they requested, said that they weren't what they asked in the first place, and I'm like, well, that's not good enough. You're not giving me good enough feedback. I can't produce what you want if you won't tell me what you want. I've had publishers say, you tell us how much you think you should be paid, which is a fine starting point, but it's often a signal that they are waiting for you to underrate yourself because they know that you're likely to. If they won't name a solid good rate, if they won't go, here's our deal, here's what we want, at least to start negotiations, they're probably not your friend. Also though, the other side of that is that they're not looking to do you a favor. Publishers are, in the minority. There are maybe 100 times more game designers than there are publishers. And publishers, especially these days, have their pick of the litter. They can pick and choose. And so they are like an employer. You can't just go, here's an unfinished game. Here's a game that you might like. You've got to put on your suit. You've got to put on your best face. You've got to sell, sell, sell. You've got to give them the game as absolutely as finished and polished as you can possibly get it. All through those iterations, you have to spend money to make your prototypes look good. Although, there's nothing wrong with a rough non-art prototype, but the more you can do, even for just little cheap things to make it look more professional, more developed, so that they have less work to do is what you're looking for. If they can see that they don't have to test, they don't have to iterate, all they have to do is do the final sort of getting the art, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. In effect, what you're presenting is something that provides money for them with the least amount of work, right? Because that's what they want. They don't want to have to hold hands. As I said in the last video, I've been a publisher, and the thing that we don't want is to have to nurse you through every part of the process. We don't want to have to fight with you. We don't want to have to constantly butt heads. We want to know that you've done as much work as you have, that you're prepared to keep working on it, that you're, invested in it, that you think it's the best, that's a good product, that you think it's going to sell, and that you've done your homework, that you've researched and know that it's a product that fits their line. If you make those kind of mistakes, it's like we used to say, there's a resume and crayon test. If you haven't read the instructions, if you haven't understood what the company is, then you're not showing them respect. If you're giving them something like, oh, there's all these things that we need to change, so please, you haven't done you haven't shown them respect. You haven't, it doesn't, you can have things that are missing, you can have things that you want to do, but you do need to understand what their position is. Right? You can say, look, this is a placeholder, this needs to be changed. That shows that you have done the work, that you do understand. You have to take it seriously. You have to understand that they are taking it seriously. So you need to take it seriously. You need to present yourself as a serious person who's willing to do work, who's willing to put in, who is, professional above all, and is, committed to the process and committed to that company. Because they are choosing to invest their time and their money in you. They're not your friend, they're not your buddy, they're not your partner. They are employers of a sort who are bringing you in to promote your game. And these days, they're expecting more and more and more of you because, again, customers designers are a dime a dozen. And you're going to have to work harder and harder to impress them, and indeed do more of the labor, possibly even for less of the money. Again though, look around, find a good deal, but be prepared to work. The publisher is not your friend. And just like the other video, this comes down to understanding. If you can, if ever possible, work in both roles, work as a publisher and a designer, because the more you can do to understand each other's viewpoint, the more you can work together. You know what they're doing. If you can't work with them, talk to them, understand them. I've worked with publishers for 20 years, so I know how they work, I know what they're looking for, and I've been a publisher, so I know what I'm looking for when I talk to a designer. I don't want to have to nurse you, I don't want to have to hold your hand, I don't want to have to fight you. I want you to commit and be ready. The publisher is not your friend. They're your workmate, they're your boss, they're your employer, they're your director on the stage. They can help you bring out the best, they can work with you, but they're not your friend. Impress them and you will go far. That's all for today. See you next time on Lancing with myself. Until then, be good, play games, pat dogs, have fun.